This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today is Monday, July 6th, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So we got a bunch of stuff that's going on right now. First thing we're going to be looking at is AYRO. So anyone that's been watching, we know that there's just been absolutely phenomenal buying, not only underneath this 5 level, at the 5 level, and then over the 5 level. The one thing that we do need to keep in mind, though, is that the first ask prints at 5, I was okay with 25 cents of a pull down, but the thing that we have to understand is 5 is not one of those levels that typically is just going to release the stock. The buying that we have has the ability to really get away from that. We're talking about buying for 6 rather than 550. 550 obviously where we would be looking for our first price target. But at the end of the day, I would not be shocked to see this thing kind of sell off underneath the 5 again before we really get that move. But overall, there is just tons and tons of really great new buying that's coming into this. So this is definitely one of my top of the things on my list. It's just if it was at 4 or 3 or 7 or or 6 or anything but 5, I would have even higher percentage on it. But because it's at that 5 level, we know huge psychological level, we're going to be expecting some games to be played there. Next thing I'm going to be looking at is Solo, SOLO. So we know based off of what we saw last week that we have enough buying in this to technically get us up towards that 5 level. So really all we want to see is what the new, the cliff notes of today are going to be within here. And the one thing at 4, I wasn't really that excited about what we saw. You could see the prints themselves. I mean, it started off with our bids, but then we came in, we got a little bit of new buying coming into there. But, we also have to understand that they spent almost all of Friday building up a position in this thing. So based off of that, I'd have to assume there can't be that much left that they're going to be looking to get. So we're definitely still getting some new buying coming into this. There are shares available, so definitely make sure that you have those as well, because if they go into another building day, we might see this thing come all the way back down towards 350 first before we would even think about it being able to get back up to 5. So what I'm going to be looking for is just a lot more new buying coming in, because even though these positions look like they're pretty decent, they're really just about the print personality, really about average, nothing that's too crazy that's came into it yet. But we definitely have that story from from Thursday that shows us that there is a ton of buying that is still inside this stock. Next thing I'm going to be looking at, WKHS. All right, so try to get shares. Unfortunately, most people probably will not be able to. But if we look, you can see coming into that 2150, we're definitely starting to see, even though we kind of jumped up over, we're seeing a lot of selling coming in this morning. You can see 21, then 21 that leaked into 2095. The orders are thin, so this position itself really kind of showed us that. Really more of a leak over, but it's still kind of huge. So the amount of selling that we've seen coming into this is very big. We're pulling up right now from what we had at that 21 level. And then from there, we're really going to be looking for a trigger down towards that 2036 print line. I mean, it's the easiest first price target for us to be able to go back into. But the only thing is just keep in mind that because we see the selling, it did jump up. We might start to see new buying coming in as we get closer towards the open of the market. But this is a way over. This broke, being a staircase at this point to kind of pop back up. So we would need to see something drastic come in for us to show that it's going to want to break up above that 22 level. Next thing looking at is MYO. So the thing about MYO, I really liked the buying that came in at 5. If it lets me go back. Here we go. It's not going to let me go back because when TradeStation shut down, I only have the prints for now. But you can see coming up above 520, nice buying, a little bit of buying here at 5. You have some buying that's coming into that 550. So yes, we are, kind of sitting back down. But at the same time, if you look over here on the 15 minute, just to consolidate it for your mind, you can see it actually technically is still in a staircase. So based off the amount of buying that we have, a trigger towards that upside, we shouldn't really have a problem getting towards that 550. But the biggest problem that we do have there is that there's just a ton of congestion on top of the fact that we're sitting at the 5 level again, big psychological level. We know market makers are there. We know there's going to be a lot of games being played. So it's another one where it's just not the perfect situation, but definitely something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. NIO, another one. So this is basically this morning, I really liked what we saw right here. So you can see based off of before this, really just kept seeing a lot of different, back and forth. It was a lot of mix, nothing that really stood out. But then when we come over here towards that 1150, not only did we get some real big prints coming into this, but this is a huge position compared to what we've been seeing in the burst so far. So a pullback underneath this pretty drastically, because I'd have to assume some profit taking is going to come in from there because they're showing us a building position. After that pullback, trigger back towards that upside, I mean, the The amount of buying that just came in at that level shows us that if we, as long as we get a trigger back to the upside, excuse me, with volume, we should have absolutely no problem being able to break these highs. And you already have a double top. So basically that's telling us that the sellers are eventually going to run out because of that buying that we saw coming in. It definitely has a high probability of coming back up and being able to crush that. Next thing, BYFC. So BYFC this morning, this is definitely towards the bottom of my side list, but 385 had some real nice refreshing on the ask that came in over here. Now it's having a hard time getting any type of consistent volume there, but a trigger back towards the upside, no reason we can't see this thing get back up towards, towards 4, and then obviously from 4 we're going to get a lot more information coming in to show us whether or not we're going to be able to continue up and kind of hit that double top from this morning. Because if you look at the overall volume, it was actually very high to start off the day to kind of push this back up. You're talking about right after 7 o'clock too. It has one of the highest volume bars of the pre-market. So overall, it definitely has momentum towards that upside, and that refreshing on the ask at 385. Definitely going to be looking for a trigger back towards this resistance that we have. Is that as soon as you say solo should be ready, nothing but buying runs it up. And then we're going to look at GNUS. So make sure you go out there. There are shares available. But the only thing is, so we can see coming down that 4 level, it's not going to show, it's not going to let me show, but as we were coming back down to the 4, we definitely had some bids coming in there. We definitely had some selling, but if we look on this pullback up, there was nothing but buying. I mean, it's just overall, all the bigger prints I'm seeing from basically that 375 level, besides the position that came in at 380 on the sell, definitely a lot coming in. So not as much new selling, and we're getting more buying. It should definitely give us an opportunity to be able to come back up towards this print line right here, and kind of give us a little bit more information on what the reaction is going to be. So we don't have the greatest show of ammo. Don't get me wrong, AYRO is definitely has the buying to really get moving after we kind of get away from that 5, but overall, not the best show of hands that we have out there. There's a lot of volume. Almost everything out there that's moving this morning is a cheaper stock, which is definitely great for us because that's, kind of our bread and butter. But really got to make sure, especially coming back from a 3-day weekend, we need to make sure that we have that patience and we really get something that shows us definitively this is exactly what needs to happen. And besides AYRO having the buying to really be able to go up, things are kind of a little, there's nothing that I'm sitting there looking at and saying, okay, this is a 95% trade coming in yet. So let's make sure that we're paying attention to what's going on. And we're not trying to force any type of trades. Remember, if we're coming back, like you said, 3-day weekend. All right, so things might be a little bit slower coming into the morning. There's probably a lot of people that are still a little bit hungover from the weekend, so we want to make sure that we take that into account. All right, guys, anything else out there that I missed? And by the way, as I'm talking, WKHS just had some nice ask prints come in at that 21 level. WTRH, let's see. All right, so let's see what happened at 350. It definitely fits the criteria. I just don't see anything here that, this is a great position, great position that came in 357 to 360. But then afterwards, it definitely fits, definitely for our side list. I just don't see anything. Once again, it's kind of like almost everything else that we've seen out there. It just nothing jumps out and says, this is what has to happen at this moment, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Especially, it's just a morning full of these cheaper stocks. So we got a lot of stuff to look at. Just remember too, if you're in like kind of a lower level stage, don't try to trade a lot of cheap stocks at once. Because if you do, it's going, if all of them, it's one of the hardest things to do because you have to manage a cheap stock basically, print by print as it's happening. So if you have too many of them going at once and they all do something drastic at once, it's almost impossible to be able to cut those losses. So just remember that, especially on a morning when you have pretty much all these cheaper stocks that we see moving out there. Genus, did I go over Genus? I don't believe, yes, I did go over Genus already, and LMFA. Yeah, so I can't really get behind this. It's on a downtrend. I haven't really seen anything there that kind of jumps out at me. And we have just a ton of better, cheaper stocks that have showed some more. So you can put it on your list, but I'm not. It's not something that I can get behind. All right, guys, let's get ready for our morning. All right, let's make sure that we're paying attention to our patterns. Remember, Traders Exchange tomorrow at 12:30. So let's make sure that we're all thinking about what our questions are going to be for that. I will talk to everybody in the chat, and happy trading.